More news on the CPL season. Good thing we have Oliver Platt working for us because he is our insider. We go to him for all the information. Tweeting this out, Commissioner David Klanikin revealing how the playoffs are going to look after a 28-game regular season. It will be a 4-team playoff. One will take on 4, 2 will take on 3rd place, and the winners will proceed to a single match final. So as we know, inside the bubble, 8 games are going to be played by each team versus teams not in their region. The following 20 games will be split up into 16 teams, or 16 games versus teams in the region, 4 versus teams not in the region. Of course, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, so it's all about minimizing travel, and there's a reminder of the teams in the regions. What do you make of this, Gareth? Do you like the breakdown once the bubble is over?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I have no problem with it whatsoever. If you do have a problem with it, I think you're being very nitpicky, to be honest with you. It keeps more teams alive longer in the season. The only one alteration I would have made, I like the 2-legged final, but for a 1-legged final, that's absolutely fine. Reward the team that comes atop the table. So I'm A-okay with everything that was presented today. Well done by the league for coming out and announcing this before the start of the season.
Let's continue our previews as well, and let's begin with Atletico Ottawa, the first team, the smart team. They got out of Dodge. They went and trained in Spain when they realized they couldn't do so here. But Ollie, we've really just seen them at the Island Games, which is not a season, it's a tournament. So what's their ceiling? What's their floor? What do we really know about Ottawa?
Well, I think they could be quite strong this year. I think they're a little bit of a dark horse, maybe, Atletico Ottawa, and I was impressed by them in the bubble last year, just the way they conducted themselves and were organised, and had an incredibly difficult job to enter that first season in a pandemic and put a competitive team together. But they're able to do so, and I like what they've continued to do this offseason. I think they had a good centre-back pairing last year in Kapoor and John. They've added Drew Becky, who's a very experienced player, to that mix. I think they've got attacking players that can hurt you. Ryan Telfer, Brian Wright coming from MLS. The 2 Atletico Madrid kids on loan, Soto in particular, I think they're really excited about. And then I think they've got a player in midfield who I personally think can be one of the best central midfielders in the CPL, and Viti Martinez, who was a bit underrated at the Island Games. So you add that squad, which I think is looking pretty good, to the fact that they've had a proper preseason. They've been in Spain, they've been training, playing some games over there, which no other team has had the opportunity to do to anywhere near the same extent. I think they could be good. I don't think they've got the highest ceiling in the league, but I certainly don't think they've got the lowest floor either. I think they'll be in the mix.
I'm excited to actually see them play a full schedule, right? Like 7 games was just such a tease for Ottawa football fans out there. I think that the X factor here is those aforementioned players coming on loan from Spain. Soto, 20 years of age. We'll see what a young player, changing country. It's a big move for a young player, as well as Rafael Nunez, only 19 years of age, a winger. Again, had never been to Canada before this. Throw in Miguel Acosta right back. You have some unknowns there, don't you? But there is a strong spine of experienced Canadian players, which hopefully can help settle things down for this group. And I agree with you, Ollie. I think that this is a team that can make some noise. My power rankings are coming up in a few moments, but I was this close to putting them in the top 4. I was very, very tempted. They didn't quite make it, but do I think they can get there? Absolutely, I do.
Okay, that's a little teaser, but pick one player right now. I know we've been talking a lot about the new players, but if there's one in particular, Gareth, you're keeping your eye on for Ottawa, who is it?
The main man, Manella, Chris Manella, 27 years of age, a powerhouse in the middle of the park. His introduction to the Canadian Premier League was disrupted last year at the Island Games with York. He only played 2 games through, he missed all the rest through injury, could never really get going. And this is a player that is durable. He played 35 games for the Ottawa Fury in 2019. He does have 3 caps for country as well. He's one of those aforementioned players that can just settle things down. I think he can be a difference maker with Martinez in the middle of the park. So I'm excited to see what he can do because he can be a real force over the course of a 28-match schedule.
One player to keep an eye on, not just for Atletico Ottawa fans, but for Montreal fans as well, because he's been getting a bit of buzz in training camp from what I've heard, is Keyshawn Ferdinand. He's 17 years old, very young player, but they really think he's got something, and he could play a part for them this season, can play anywhere across the back line, so he's going to give them some versatility there. And yeah, like I said, there's a bit of buzz around him and the way he's been performing in preseason.
Let's take a look at Halifax now, one of the 2 top teams in the Island Games last year, finalists. Ollie, are you still putting them top 2?
Top 2, I don't know. Certainly they're in my top 3 with Forge and Cavalry. I just think what they showed us last year was real. I think they're going to be back and be a very strong contender again. And when I was in the bubble in PEI, talking about early in the tournament, which team is impressing you, which team are you not looking forward to facing, everyone was saying Halifax. The rest of the league really started to rate this team highly. I think particularly for not just for the defensive strength with Charla and Jeff Rod and the wall that they formed at the back, but particularly for the attacking talent. Marshall, Garcia, Rigi, Morelli, Bent. There's real depth and real options in the attack for Stephen Hart. And they've had a big helping hand with that schedule, which is going to eliminate one of their biggest challenges, or most of it, which is that long road travel all across the country from out on the East Coast. So I think that what they did last year was real, and I think they'll replicate it again this year.
What they did last year was real, but this is a new year, and they're going to be missing some key players. James Raffard is away with Haiti. He won't be starting the season with Halifax. He has Gold Cup coming up. Ensa, DeCarolis, these are some very important players across the back line. And what was Halifax, their style of play? Counter-attacking. They relied upon that strong defensive spine. They also lose a starter or 2 from central midfield positions. I think it's a new year. I don't think it'll be the same Halifax team. I think you can see them taking a step back, Ollie. Maybe even more than 1 step back.
Bold.
Or maybe they'll hop forward. Sorry, I just still find it so amusing every time we show that Morelli goal celebration. Then everyone just starts copying him, and I think they're probably wondering, what are we doing? Which is a newcomer. If you're looking at a newcomer, though, with HFX Wanderers, Gareth, who you think could be a difference maker?
I've seen a lot of this player, Jeremy Gagnon-Laparé, 26 years of age. I believe he has 5 Canada caps. Last one coming way back in 2014, but that's okay because he's such an experienced player. Again, another player that did well playing for Ottawa Fury, was with St. Louis last season in USL as well. And the strength of a player like him is Stephen Hart can use him all over the pitch. He can go up top, doesn't score goals, but he's just a hard worker. He can play in the back. He can play in the midfield. He's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. And those sorts of players getting through a lengthy schedule like we're going to see here, they're completely valuable. So I think he's going to be a real asset to the Wanderers team.
I'll go with another young player like Ferdinand's that I think could be one to watch, and that's Sam Salter, the striker. He's a big athletic kid. He tries things, he's brave with the ball, and what he tries to do as a striker, it's not all going to come off as he makes the step up to the CPL, but when it all clicks, he can be difficult to defend. So I think you're going to see a lot of rotation in this Halifax team because they've got a lot of internationals that they want to get all of them in the lineup, so they're going to need an alternative to Akeem Garcia up front, and I think he'll be the guy.
All right, Gareth, it's now time for the not Wheeler's way too early power rankings. These are the just-in-time power rankings for the CPL. Just right.
Well, wheels up on them, and no better way on the eve of a new campaign to simultaneously get every coach and player against me from the get-go. So here we go, coming in at number 8. Don't hate me because I don't think you'll finish in 8th place, but it's FC Edmonton, just 1 point last season. I can't bump them ahead of anyone else without seeing what this group is all about. I really think they got the right man to coach this team and Alan Coach. I think he's a very good manager. He has MLS experience coaching with FC Cincinnati, and I love how the team went out and brought in experienced players to kind of help them through some difficult times. I think they're very good at the back, weak up top. We'll see. For now, they're in the 8th spot. At number 7, they used to be 9. York United comes in at number 7. Last year, I had them atop my power rankings. I'm not making the same mistake twice. 13 changes to the team, 13 new players, and a lot of them are young. I get it. The back 4 is very good. Dominic Zator will settle things down for a certain degree, but what's their midfield all about? They're very inexperienced, very young in that crucial position. They're an X factor. They can absolutely climb as some of these young players prove something, but they need to show me first. So York United at 7 for the time being. At number 6, Atletico Ottawa. Again, I was so close to putting in my top 4. I just couldn't go there yet. Those Spanish players, young Spanish players, can they make the transition to Canadian football? That is going to be huge. Who's going to replace Acuna in the team? Be the player that, you know, the straw that stirs the drink in the middle of the park. But I do think that they have some very talented players, and it's a group that can threaten for the playoffs. At number 5, Halifax Wanderers are going to drop down to the 5th spot. Look, this was a team, and I know that they don't have to travel as much this time around, a bubble for the first 8, but they were the worst team away from home in 2019, and they're playing 3 Ontario sides where the travel is relatively limited, and they're the ones that are going to have to come out of province. All the rest get to stay. They lost key players, Bayon Goyette, Sissoko. I'm not sure what they've done to replace them with U Sports players coming off a season where U Sports didn't play. I'm not sure that's the way to go. They have a lot of players that need to step up their game, and also they're a counter-attacking squad. That's why it worked in tournament football. Will counter-attacking the way they did play out over the course of 28 games? I'm not so sure, so I'm going to knock them back a couple spots. Coming in next at number 4, Pacific FC. The team can score for days. They might have one of the best players in the league with Marco Bustos, but what I want to see from that player specifically, I want to see the greatness consistently. Game in, game out. That's what Borges did in season number 1. That's what Bustos has to do this year. And they look at the group. Tons of options up top. How does Campbell fit in? How does Blasco fit into this new group? We shall see. But defensively, they didn't strengthen at all. That was the weakness in their team. Is that back line good enough? And if they sustain any injuries, what's that defensive group going to look like? Great coach, really good team, 4th place. At number 3, shout out to Valor and Rob Gale. They are on the climb. Wheels up for Rob Gale and his side, because they are an excellent team defensively. Maybe the best defensive team in the Canadian Premier League, with Jean-Baptiste, with Bukamutu, who didn't play last season because of injury. Add in Reyes and Soto. They can be an absolute force. I love their shape. They have experienced Canadian players that fill out the midfield and some of those peripheral roles as well. My only question is who's going to score goals for them. If they can find a regular goal scorer, Valor should be right up there. I can't wait to see Gallardo play as well. And they're starting the season in Winnipeg at home. Valor is going to make the playoffs. You heard it here first. Wheels up. They're moving up. Not as high as Cavalry. They're coming in at number 2. Sweeping changes. Tommy Wheeldon Jr., what a talent evaluator he is, because he's completely rebuilt the defense and the attack ahead of this season. No one's better at scouting. Yao, Klomp, Field, Mason up top. Escalante's back in the team as well. Not to mention Di Chiara, Norman, Selemani, and my boy, Novak Yesvac. This team is ready to compete again. Health pending. That's what let them down at the Island Games. So Cavalry at number 2. Number 1, there's no one else that has a stronger side on paper than Forge FC. Bobby Smirniotis lost one key player in David Edgar, replaces him with Dejan Jakovic, 41 caps for Canada, last played for LAFC, one of the best teams in Major League Soccer. You go from strength to strength at that position. Now a full season from players like Mo Babuli, Paulo Sabac. You happen to bring back the MVP and Tristan Borges. Kyle Becker's still there. The band is back together. And oh yeah, they also brought in a player that scored goals in the CONCACAF Champions League before with 10 caps for Panama in Omar Browne. This team is ready to win it. They're ready to make some noise in CONCACAF as well. They are the team that you need to go after. They are the ones that are atop the Wheeler appropriately timed or just in time power rankings ahead of the 2021 season.
Wow.
I would give you a standing ovation, Wheels, but I'm not wearing any pants. Here you go. A reminder of the power rankings. Forge FC, it looks like you have them favored for the three-peat. Ollie, your thoughts?
Firstly, can someone get Wheels a drink? That was impressive. Well done on that. Getting through all 8 of them at once there. I would be willing to put money on FC Edmonton not being bottom of the table. I understand why Wheels has them last in his power rankings for now, but I don't think they'll finish last. I have to go Halifax higher than that, as we know, as we've already covered. I don't think I'm quite ready to go to 3rd with Valor. I like the potential there. I agree with you on that. I just can't go that high yet with them.
All right. We're going to hold you to those power rankings. This is what I love.